Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to a special episode of Kulna Tu7af. Today, I have four guests with me today who are very special to me, as they were the four first guests of the podcast. So I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves and what they do.
Hey, my name is Allaa. I do animations and I also run the Libyan Creative, and I'm happy to be here.
Hello, my name is Ayob and I'm a graphic designer. I'm grateful to be here.
Salam alaikum. My name is Sadik. I'm the guy behind Boundcast and I'm a photographer, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Hey, Salam alaikum. My name is Malik Al-Arabi. I make hip hop. Check out my music. What's good?
So, first question is, do you guys all know each other, or are you guys all familiar with each other's work?
Yes, I am familiar with everybody's work. I'm a fan of everyone here. Mashallah alaikum.
I'm familiar with everyone in here.
Yeah, I'm familiar with all three, Malik, Ayob, and Adan. I'm a big fan of their works.
Also familiar. Ayoub's done like cover art for some of my stuff, which is tight. Sadik sent me some dope care packages with some of his photography. And then I haven't gotten to interact as much, but Libyan Creatives has definitely shown love, which I super appreciate. So what everybody's working on is super dope, mashallah.
So from that, have you guys ever thought of collabing? Like, I know Ayob and Malik have, and I know Sadik and Allaa have, and I know Ayob and Allaa have, but like the ones that haven't worked together, more or less, have you guys thought of working together, or is there something in the works?
I mean,
maybe?
For me, I would love to learn more about, the Libyan Creative. I want to hear more. You probably talked about it at length during your interview, but even a little bit more here for listeners who are here, this might be the only one that they're listening to and haven't heard the other ones, but more so for me selfishly, I would love to hear more about that. But definitely I worked with Ayob, which was tight on the cover art. Sadik, I feel like every single time, I want to just go and pull up and see him and just have him do a shoot for me, because his stuff is outrageous, mashallah. And then you said you do graphic design too, is it motion design? What was it?
Yeah, I do animations actually. So I feel left
Animation.
out. I haven't collabed with anyone. I've featured some of y'all. I think Malik, I did a story post for your album. I haven't done a feature, so
Yeah,
we'll get to that.
What's up with the animation? Because we should talk about that. That'd be interesting.
Sure.
What do you exactly do with that?
Yeah, so my Instagram is still Realm. So if you ever want to see what that's about, but I do a lot of motion design. I'm really into fluidity and colors and stuff like that. I talk a lot about it in my podcast feature, of course. But yeah, I haven't been on it for a while, but yeah, if you ever want to see my old work, it's up there.
I'm looking at it right now. This is cool.
Oh, thank you.
Tight, mashallah.
I feel like in my case, it's slightly harder to collab with people as I'm a photographer. So unless they live in my city or I'm traveling to their city, it's very difficult to collaborate.
That's true,
That's
but Sadik,
fair,
I don't
but
know. I see some potential. And you can also pitch in with this, but I think adding graphics or motion design to photography is a dope path to take, like photography and all that.
Also, I feel like probably a big part of what you do is correct me if I'm wrong, Sadik, but the post work, so the color correct and everything like that too. Even if you weren't the one behind the camera who took the picture itself, if I had somebody take pictures for me, but I didn't like how it came out, maybe I like the photo itself, but not the fully finished product. That's something that we could work on for post work type of thing. You know what I mean?
That is very true. No, that's very, very true. The post-processing of the photos themselves. No, I can definitely do that as well.
There was also one time where Sadik posted a photo and Ayoub painted it. He did pretty much a copy of it.
Yeah, bro. Yeah,
Yeah.
rendition, yeah, of that one.
So
yeah.
that's another way of going about
Yeah,
it.
it's actually dope. Yeah, yeah. We can collaborate though, like no matter like what's it like your maybe specialty is like. For in my case, like I can like I try like to be as versatile as possible. You know, like I'm trying to expand my
Yeah.
let's say skills and trying like to collaborate with everyone in different like type of. Yeah, we can do it.
That's the cool thing. I feel like with like Instagram or anything in general, it's like حتى لو مش جنب بعضكم, it's not hard to do work with each other. You know what I mean? Like there's things like
Exactly,
Zoom
bro.
or like Microsoft Teams or even like through Instagram DMs or Twitter DMs or whatever it be.
That's actually the one thing I like about the Libyan creative community is that they're all willing to work with each other at any given point.
Yeah, I'd second that. I haven't gotten a sense from anybody of not wanting to do it, like regardless of how much you've accomplished or how long you've kind of been in the game or anything. I feel like when it comes to Libya, it has like just a, you know, it means something different to every person, but I think at the end of the day, it means something in some way, shape, or form. And so usually, like, I'm always down, regardless of who you are. As soon as if I see like the Libyan flag in your bio or, you know, in an intro or something like that, find out more about that's, you know, part of you. It's like an automatic, okay, let's like talk.
Yeah, that's really true. I think like just being connected as Libyan creatives, even if your art isn't related to Diva directly, is a huge thing. So for the Libyan Creative, someone had actually reached the Libyan Creative, like digital magazine that I do. Someone had reached out about making a Discord group chat, and it was really cool because a lot of people were on board, and we have a few threads in there, and one of them is actually for collabing. So people will just post like, hey, I'm working on this project. I'm looking for a graphic designer or a motion designer or someone who does music or whatever. And then people are able to collaborate. So I think, Libyans collaborating is a whole other level.
That's actually neat.
I was gonna say, I think Discord's a good one. I don't know if you guys have used Clubhouse at all, but I only just recently got put onto that, and it seems like in and of itself, that's like a big part of it. Like I'll see a lot of different breakouts for like creatives, and it's really just a session like this where it can be just the five of us or the five of us on a call, or the six of us, sorry, on a call, or it can be more people. And so I think that also has like potential in the future for, especially if we're just talking about the Libyan creative circle, ways to like easily communicate and, move quickly.
I feel like with Libyans, we all try to be connected.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like every single time I see somebody, every time I hear, at least myself, somebody do something amazing that's Libyan, or if I see a Libyan flag in a bio and they're doing like some sort of creative work, whatever it be, I go على طول follow. على طول. No question. Not even, don't even double think it. Just go على طول and follow and support. Because like I've said on other podcasts, like there's not that many of us, you know what I mean? It's kind of like we show love to each other because there's not that many of us, and we need to be all together as one, you know what I mean? And I feel like that's what Allaa's trying to do and what I'm trying to do myself.
We need to all be supportive of each other, and that's what we've been. But I feel like we can always give that extra push to help each other out.
For sure. And I think a lot what the Libyan creative circle is moving towards now is taking it to another level. So we've known each other as a community. Some of us have been friends even before we've gotten into art or whatever. But I really feel like now is the time for Libyan creatives to step it up and, however that may be, get out of just the Instagram circle or doing it by yourself or whatever, which that's great too. But, actually do something with it. I mean, Ayob, for example, is a great example of him taking it a step further with like the weekend collab and stuff like that. So I see that for Libyans, inshallah.
Thank you. Yeah, that's actually true. Like, yeah, I've been trying to say this like for every creative in Libya out here. Like, we need like to be supportive, like when it comes to other creative Libyans, and trying to lift us up as possible, because like we are not survivalists in this one. Like we should like to try to be a group rather than individuals. That's my take on that.
For sure. Great take.
That's the cool thing. Like look, for example, like the first episode, I got 200 streams so far, in 14 different countries. So just it's like to be completely honest, the reason why it's been so long since I've started the idea and then actually doing it. So that in the beginning, I didn't think that anybody was going to support it. I just thought it would be like my close circle or like my friends. Like I knew you guys would, but I didn't think anybody else would. I didn't think the people that support it now were going to ever like it or talk about it or just like, I've gotten great input from a lot of people who I didn't personally expect would talk about it at all. Like somebody, like I follow messaged me yesterday and he was like, if you need help with doing Arabic translations for like later episodes, ابعت لي ندور لك حد يساعدك. ما توقعتهاش at all. Like no cap. I didn't expect it whatsoever. So it's been eye-opening, you know what I mean? Like we see a Libyan flag right now and everyone's just like, let's do it. Let's all forget about all the problems we have in the entire world and politics, whatever it be. And we just strive towards this. You know what I mean? Felt like I've seen changes myself in the community. You know what I mean? It's not like
Without a
what it
doubt.
used to be before.
I do want to give a shout out to one guy in specific, and that's that Muslim tourist. I feel like there was this lots of like toxicity between like Libyans living in the UK with Libyans living in America versus Libyans living in Canada, and there's all that beef between all three for no reason whatsoever. And then he came up with this idea of lives and like somehow got us all along virtually, and that now people are like, okay, you know what? There's nothing wrong with this Libyan person that lives in Canada or this person that lives in Manchester or someone that lives in New York or anything like that. I love it. So I generally think that has been one of the things that helped the Libyan community online.
I think so too. And I think we've been sort of getting towards it. We just needed a push. Like فهمت قصدي, like ديما حاجات غبية نتعاركوا عليها, and then slowly we kind of just forgot about it. I also think it's because of the times that we're living in, you know what I mean?
True,
خلاص
bro.
كبرنا
Like
وكبرنا,
for me personally, like I never like get why people like abroad, like Libyan people specifically, like there's beef between each other, like for no reason, for absolute no reason, like just because he's like Libyan, lives in the UK, or like, and the others like live in the USA or whatever. Like there will be like tension or beef, unnecessary tension or beef, bro. Like that doesn't sit with me. You know what I mean? It's strange, like, to be honest.
Yeah, for real. No, but it's really true. People do just unnecessarily start beefing, and maybe it's just human nature. But I think like the great thing about what the Libyan tourists did, what you're doing right now, Zahid, is like you're basically, if you don't give them any direction, they will go crazy. So if you create these circles of just like positivity and uplifting each other, whether it be through comedy and games or like through like appreciating art, then like they have something to do now, you know, like they have something to be connected through. So I think that's the great thing about art in general, like inside or outside of the Libyan circle, generally. And that's why, creative at least, I always make sure that like the type of art or creativity I'm promoting is more like or is pretty positive and has like a pretty pure intentions. Because if we're focusing on positive things and, you know, like creating rather than destroying, that's hopefully our culture goes that way too.
Because I also feel the other thing is that no one sees Libyan culture for what it is. At least I'm not talking Libyans, but outside of the Libyan circle, if you go and Google Libya, look at all the negative search results that you get. You know what I mean? I think we should start. Now is the time, especially with the time period that we live in, to start focusing on our culture and our art, and like focusing على شعبنا. ما دخلناش في اللي برا. You know, we start advancing ourselves in whatever we do, you know? What this is leading towards is, do you find it hard? I know Malik's spoken about this before, but and Ayob a little bit, but do you find it hard inputting culture in your work? Like, Allaa, besides the Libyan creative page, but like in animations or just in your everyday work, do you find it hard to input culture in towards it?
Yeah, I was just gonna say real quick that I don't know that I've actually put an effort towards it to try. I wouldn't say it's difficult. The only reason I probably haven't gone to it is culture is a really sensitive thing for a lot of people, and I never want to mess it up. So even though it's Mike, I don't want to offend someone else's like perception of this thing that they're really possessive of too.
So like culture appreciation versus culture appropriation.
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah, I think for me, at least when I was kind of going through my process, like on the most recent album in that project, I didn't run into that. I didn't run into that issue as much. Like the biggest thing for me is when it comes to culture, especially like Libyan or even like Arab culture, Muslim culture, or whatever, is like not being corny. Like that's the thing that I try to be the most thoughtful of, because like we went through, you know, the era of like YouTube and like the 2010s,
YouTube and
where it was
Abu Batata.
where it was cool to like for a guy to, you know, wear his mom's hijab and pretend that he was his mom and like all like I don't know, I just feel like that story is so played out. Or just like, you know, in rap specifically, when people are like, oh yeah, like dates because of Ramadan, but like dates in real life with girls and stuff. I'm like, come on, player, like we're just past that time. So I think for me that like those type of things within whatever creative it is, like especially when it comes to DBing, because the DBing are brutal. Like they'll be like your biggest lovers, but also like your biggest haters and critics too.
Definitely.
And so, you know, being very thoughtful and intentional about that was important for me. Of like, how do you do it in a way where like people are going to respect it, and it's like subtle enough that you're not overdoing it, but also in a way that's like, you know, respect for doing that and putting it in and kind of acknowledging it.
In my case, as like I spoke about it in my episode, like I can't really go cringy in like with photography, especially like when relating back to Libya. Like the most I can do is just help show how beautiful Libya really is, whether that be Benghazi, Trablus, or honestly anywhere in Libya. Damn, it's like there's so many amazing spots in Libya that just haven't been portrayed to the world, you know? Like if you search Benghazi, sadly all you see are like photos and videos of the bombing instead of actually like seeing the beauty of Benghazi. So like that is the one thing I aim to do. Currently I haven't been back to Libya since I left it, so in 2014, but inshallah I'll be back very soon and being able to capture the beauty of my country.
Do you feel like it's hard showing Libyan culture because you live abroad?
Without a doubt. If I lived in Libya, I feel like my whole aesthetic would be completely different. Like my feed aesthetic, whether it be the style of photos I capture, it would be completely different.
Like I get what you mean, but you could somewhat still show Libyan culture abroad, but it's not the same. You know what I mean? Like دايرة انت كم من مرة على صفحتك انت بروحك. لكن مش
I can take a photo of someone لابس بدلة عربية or something along those lines, but even then I feel like at that point I'm just forcing it onto my feed instead of it being natural, you know?
Yeah.
Like I can, at the end of the day, I can always have a white background and just picture anyone لابس بدلة عربية in front of him and be like, yo, just smile for the camera. But that's not really my style.
أيوب وانت تحس فيها صعبة أنا أدخل الثقافة الليبية.
Exactly, bro. Yeah, bro. As a person like who lives in Libya, bro, I relate to what Sadik said. نحسها صعبة, bro. Like from my point of view, like when I was growing up, like I didn't like was super cultural like about my own roots, if you know what I mean, because like it's different from each person. Like you run to in the street, like you don't like get like the true information about your own culture, because like each person like has exactly, and it's like different perspective, bro. And you didn't get the like the right report from what actually happened, you know. Or yeah, I actually even though I blame like even the educational system out here in Libya, like they didn't tell us about the history in Libya at all, if you know what I mean. Like when we were young. قروا فينا كانوا like about the إنسان قديم and shit like that, what they do to eat. So basically, so how I'm dealing with that as an alternative like solution right now, as I'm all grown up and an artist at the same time, I'm always like researching my own history and learning about it, if you know what I mean. Like, you know, like, so right now what you see in my art isn't a reflection of my own culture. So it's like, you know, in a simple word, art is about love and, you know, to the culture and nature as an example. So as an artist can't do his artworks without something in their heart in general, if you know what I mean. And that's why affection within is like the most important thing, like in every artist's creation. So it's like purely coming from their hearts. So you can take that as an alternative to culture.
I get what you mean. Like كل واحد عنده تفكير different, like the way they take certain things, a different point of view on everything. Like ما تيجي like تفرق، ما تيجي تخلي الناس يحبوا وما يحبوا، لكن تيجي تفرح كل واحد. You know what I mean? Like زي ما قالت علاء، زي ما قالت علاء، like كل واحد like تحط حاجة.
You can't please anybody,
like,
bro.
You know, like, oh, you did this wrong, or you know, because like especially in Libyan culture, الغرب والشرق مختلفات والجنوب والشمال حتى مختلفات جدا. You know, they're somewhat the same, but we're all different. Like it's when it comes to foods, when it comes to dressing, when it comes to like حتى عراس ولا حاجات. You know, everybody's like a whole different vibe, more or less. بالضبط.
Yeah, different lifestyles, bro. Yeah, it's actually that's the case that's the thing in my case. Like, I don't want to like depict things like that would be offensive to other, you know, Libyan like people, if you know what I mean. So because like I have no clue about what am I doing, like, because like when it comes to culture, like I'm almost illiterate about it. And it's coming from someone like that who was born and raised in Libya, bro. That's like actually shameful.
Yeah, I feel validated. I thought this was a diaspora thing, but I'm glad to know that it's not just us out here.
I think it's just like it's just an identity thing with all of us. You know what I mean? It's not like only. I feel like Sadik could probably relate to this too. It's not like كان أنت عايش برا, كان أنت عايش في Libya, you're not gonna get the identity issue. You know what I mean?
Like I never appreciated like the beauty of Libya till the past 2-3 years when I got into photography and I started appreciating like the views and all that of like the city that I live in right now, Ottawa or wherever I travel to. I started like, I lived in Libya for 16 years and I never looked at it the way I look at like the cities I travel to now or the countries I travel to now. So I'm like I really need to go back, and I feel like it'll be a completely different point of view when I do go back.
So you feel like pretty much your work has brought you closer to your culture, more or less?
Without a doubt.
Allaa or Malik, do you guys feel the same way?
Yeah, I think for me, like it was, so I went back to, I never lived in Libya. And then I went back, you know, when I was younger, but most recently I went back in 2017 and 2018. And I think during both of those times going there, like as an adult, as opposed to like when I was a child. So like kind of along the lines of what Sadik was just saying, like being a little bit just more worldly and like well-versed in the rest of what's going on, and not just like being in the brain of like a kid. Like as I went there, it felt like very, you know, experimental for me to be like, okay, I don't know the next time I'm going to get this experience. I want to make the most out of it. I want to go see the things that like, you know, normally you wouldn't even think to see if you were just going there for like, you know, a month or two or something like that. And then those were the things that ultimately contributed to when I released the first album, which had a lot of themes related to Libya in it. And I think that that was just part of the timing. So I would say it definitely influenced me in that regard. But now, given that like the current project I'm working on, for example, has like nothing, there's no correlation to Libya like whatsoever. You know, maybe like in like the lyrics and stuff, but like when you look at the cover art, for example, you're not going to see that. And I think that that also just has to do with the current circumstance of, you know, in the midst of making this project, I spent no time in Libya, whereas for the first one, I spent an extensive amount of time there, which contributed to that. So I think that there's probably that flavor too of like when you're actually there, you know, it impacting you, or you know, being in touch pretty regularly with people who are there, you know, incorporating it in.
Allaa, what about you? Do you feel like your work has brought you like other? I know the Libyan Creative page might have, but do you feel like you've been brought closer to your culture?
Yes, but maybe not in the way you think. Not through my art necessarily, but when I started posting my art, I was just exposed to the broader Libyan creative community, and that definitely just brought me closer. Like I felt, you know, the sense of community and whatnot. And I don't think I would have gotten there had I not started doing my animations and posting it and getting a bit of recognition for that. I mean, hopefully one day in the future, maybe if I feel like it, my art will be more connected to Libya. I think Malik makes a great point about it. Like if you're not there, if you don't have a direct connection, you don't want to fabricate that feeling because then your art's not going to be authentic either. So, but yeah, yes and no, I guess.
Because we also live abroad. You gotta take that in. like ما عندناش like صح عندنا جالية ليبية هنا لكن معظم الجالية والناس اللي نتلاقوا معاهم on a regular basis like عايشين في أمريكا طول حياتهم, you know what I mean? Like most of your friends, most of my friends, they are Libyans. They have been to Libya, but they also live your everyday like immigrant lifestyle, you know what I mean? I feel like embracing you're obviously proud of who you are and your culture, but you can't really do much more than that, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
I think what's also something there that's I don't really give it that much thought, but I think is important is like there are a lot of Libyan who live abroad who have never been back to Libya, like ever, or have never lived there or have never had any experience. And that can be, and if you talk to those people, because I was like one of them at one point, like my understanding and assumption of what Libya was like dramatically different than when I actually went there and experienced it firsthand. And so there's like kind of this paradox if you've had that experience versus if you've not, and it's almost like this ignorance, and not in like a negative sense, just like a genuine ignorance of like you haven't really seen it. And I think that that's also something to be aware of when we think about like Libyan abroad, creating like a type of work for them and stuff like that, is like being aware of like who that audience is, because we might assume it's people like us who have been back to Libya, but there's going to be a ton of people who might not even relate to that or have a very different take on Libya just based on like how they were brought up and stuff. So I always find that like interesting, and reflecting on it now, like I was in both parks at some point in my life. And I think that that's just like, especially when you think about Libyan youth of today, that could be like a very normal storyline of people who haven't actually ever been there.
Yeah, that's really true. Actually, a lot of people's whole idea of Libya is really limited to like the azumat and the lamat that they'll have here in America or Canada or whatever. And so I think that also goes into my original point of why I don't incorporate too much Libyan culture in my art, because whether it's too Libyan or not Libyan enough, you know, someone is going to relate and won't relate. And the way my art is, at least, it's not really relatable in general. It's a bunch of, you know, moving shapes and melting people. But yeah, that's a great point.
So do you feel like, with that being said, do you feel like it's hard for you guys to maintain your culture or identity as Libyans? Because you're not only appealing to Libyans, you're also appealing to a Western audience. Like, for example, with Ayob doesn't do quote unquote Libyan art. Ayob does art in general, and it's for everybody, you know? Like, Ayob بتحس فيها صعبة ولا؟
No, bro, not at all. I think like I can maintain my Libyan identity through my work, you know. It's one of the reasons why I told you, like, I don't even watermark my pieces or like videos I make. So as it is, like it will always remain, you know, a part of me as a Libyan individual. So I don't think it's hard to maintain that. And I'm doing like this quote unquote art for everybody, just, you know, to gain enough, maybe let me say, followers first. Like I'm doing this kind of art to attract more audience, and then like I'm currently working on a short animation, basically, that will maybe reflect on my life as a Libyan, and maybe there's a little of culture in it as well. So yeah, I hope that will like show the message of how Libyan culture be.
Because I know you've done 2 artworks, like off the top of my head. بالك دايركتور من هيك، لكن زوز مدايرهم انت، واحدة لروحك وواحدة درتها لبيكسينو for his album.
Exactly, the low,
Like,
the lo-fi pieces. Yeah, bro. Sorry for interrupting you.
Yeah. Lala, that's what I was gonna say. I was like, those are the 2 that I remember you incorporated Libyan culture into.
Exactly, and I got a lot of, you know, backlash about it as well. Like when I have done the second piece, like of the Libyan lo-fi girl, like a lot of people like said like she doesn't look Libyan at all, or like the environment or whatever, bro. Yeah, like I don't know, bro. that's the thing. Like I don't want like to, you know, to like strive. Like I don't want to provoke anyone, you know, with my art, because as I said, I'm not that well cultured. Yeah, so
that's such an interesting like thing you said right now about the girl not being portrayed a certain like way, because someone actually made a mushkila on the Libyan Creative about somebody else's art, and I was like, wow, like this is the whole point that we're trying to prove right now. Like, how are you going to come on put on an account that's, you know, promoting Libyan art and creativity, and then get offended when this person who made this art the way that they wanted to doesn't portray Libya or Libyan women in the way that you think that they should be portrayed?
See, that's the thing, right? Like, I think culture and identity is a very, very, very touchy subject for a lot of people. You know, like when تيجي تدير حاجة وما تتوقعش الناس مش هيقول لك عليها حاجة, you know? It's very tough. Like, Sadik, how do you feel like it's the same thing? Do you feel like it's hard for you to maintain your culture identity?
Not really in my case. I feel like it really doesn't play a big part whatsoever. Like with photography, I feel like they just don't intertwine whatsoever. So like I've never even given it any thought.
Malik, do you, like, I know you've talked about it a little bit, but do you also feel like it is what it is? Like, you've tried your best to input culture and identity into your work, but do you feel as though it's hard to do so?
I think it can be hard to do so. And I think like with my use case is a little unique, because I feel like when a lot of people found out about my music, particularly Libyan, it was around the time that I was doing that period of Libyan things. Whether that was the cover art with Bedla Arabiya, whether that was the Ketchup Mayonnaise Harissa remix, like whatever. Like that was a very finite time for me. But the reality is, like, I've been working on music for 10 years now. And probably for about 8 to 8.5 years of that, there wasn't actually any, even if you went and looked at my music, you wouldn't even know like I was Libyan. And even like lyrically, if you listen to the album, like with the exception of a few subtleties here and there lyrically, it's not like that obvious. It's more of when you see the visual things like the cover art or like a music video or like a resampling of a Libyan song. So I haven't really like, I don't even think of, when I think of myself, I don't think of myself as, you know, a Libyan artist. I think of myself as an artist. And then I think of myself for the characteristics that I am. I think I'm an artist who is Libyan. I'm an artist who is Muslim, for example. Like, I don't think of myself as a Muslim rapper. I think of myself as a rapper who's Muslim, like all of those things. So, you know, as an artist and creative, I think like the first step is just being really good at that thing. Like, don't worry about the labels or the what demographic do you fall into or who you're trying to represent. Just be like good at the craft as a whole, and then start to kind of figure that out and what that looks like. But for me, I never really struggled with that because I've always had it in my head that I just want to be like the best musician possible, and that's like the priority. And then if other things come along and culture mixes in and all that, then ahlan wa sahlan. But until then, like it's kind of cool.
So, do you feel it's necessary? Anybody can answer this, but do you feel necessary to show your identity as Libyans, or do you feel like it, like based, like I know Malik, you just answered the question, but does anybody feel like it's necessary to show that you're a Libyan through your work, or do you feel like I just want to show my work as is, and then if they find out I'm Libyan, great, and if not, like I just want to be great at my work.
I was just gonna say on that note, like another thing I think is worth like stating is like I really do have an appreciation when I see somebody who is big and have no idea that they're Libyan and then find out through some other way that they're Libyan. Like if I see like a successful startup or business or entrepreneur, an app that's created or something, right? And I'm like, wow, this thing is really cool. There's a lot of effort put into this. This is super well thought through, aesthetically pleasing, a great user interface, like all of these things. And that's just like as a result of the product of somebody's brain. And at that point, that's all I know. And then I find out, oh, the owner of or the founder of it actually is Libyan, even though it had nothing to do with Libya. I still think that that is very cool and very important for our culture, as Libyan, to just be successful in whatever we do, right? Like, so I think that that's like the type of thing that we should also continue to rally around is like, I don't think as Libyan, we need to seek out other Libyans who are doing Libyan stuff. I think if there's just Libyans who are doing cool stuff and then like they're just Libyan, like that's kind of enough for me. And then that's kind of how I implement it into my work. Like that, I think of myself as trying to be that person who I would find impressive, who doesn't even have to be super Libyan and in your face with it or incorporate it as much. Just the fact that they're
actually, thank you, Malik.
Is enough, if that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you, Malik. Malik, like you actually answered, like you said everything I wanted to say. Actually, I really just wanted to do my work and let people like to decide who I am and who I'm not. I just want to make a great work. That's all. Because as a creatives, like we naturally like born and taught, So I only like personally like care about the result of my own work. That's all.
As like to add to that, I feel like my work represents me. Does it represent Libya and all Libyans? Definitely not. But at the end of the day, anybody that sees that photo, I just want always to go back to, oh, it's Sadik Allah's rather than, oh, it's that Libyan guys,
That's actually true.
Because here's the thing, right? As somebody, I'm gonna talk about it from my point of view, and then I'll see what you guys think. So here's the thing. Me, before I met Sadik and before I saw myself as Libyan, I always struggled with this, like who am I? You know what I mean? Like I feel like we all struggle with it. But like who am I and what do I see in myself and what do I relate to and things like that? Because like I moved around a lot and I always like had friends from different cultures and things like that. And but I always wanted something. You always look for somebody as inspiration, you know what I mean? So I feel like if we don't know like I always wanted to be more a part of my culture later on. I feel like if we don't know they're Libyan, then it's kind of hard to do that. You know what I mean? Like I understand that you want to look at somebody for their work and not for what they are or where they're from. But sometimes you kind of need somebody to be blatantly in your face, Libi, Abban Anjad, so you can find somebody to look up to because they kind of have the same experiences as you and somebody like you can relate to and look up to, you know what I mean?
Oh, I actually like didn't see it like that, bro. Yeah. If like as I said, like during the interview I had with you last week, as I said, like I really want to inspire as much as people as I can, you know, as a Libyan. So yeah, that's one of the things like I'm striving for, like I'm aiming for. Like I just want to like to inspire the youth out here. So I hope my work really identifies me as Libyan, though. Yeah, bro, that's my only take.
Allaa, what about you?
Yeah, so I guess I'm the same in the sense that it's not very upfront with my work, but it's in my bio, it's in my intro, you know, have the living creative in my bio. I think, yeah, like it's a really valid point to say that it's really inspirational and motivational to non-creatives alike also, to see Libyans doing good things. So that's why I have it there. But yeah, I think first and foremost, I want to be a good animator or whatever I do, like digital magazine creator, because I don't want someone to say, you know, well, it doesn't really matter what people say, but if it mattered what people said, I don't want people to say, oh, she's a good animator for a Libyan or whatnot. She's a good animator and she's Libyan. And that's why a lot of the Libyan creative work too that I feature, not all of it has to do specifically with Libyans. Recently, I've had like Al-Mukhtar portraits featured and stuff like that, and Bad Arabia portraits. But Libyan creative is like, look at this amazing artist and creative, and also, by the way, they're like Libyan. So I think with my art, I want to go forth with that way too.
Do you feel like as though Libyan culture gets in the way of your work? Like we've talked about this like earlier on, but do you think it's something you will continue to see, or?
Because my art isn't so like intertwined with Libyan culture, I don't think it does. I think it can coexist peacefully. There's no conflict. So yeah, because this is the thing. If Libyan culture ever did, for some reason, get in the way of the work that I was doing, I would just I guess like I could just take a different path, you know, like if my road is blocked by Libyan culture for some reason, my road, like the work that I'm doing is not specific to Libyan culture, so it's fine. That would be sad if it did, but I don't think it has, and I don't think it will.
So, Dig, what about you? Do you feel like it's gotten in the way of your work in any way, shape, or form, or do you?
Not at all
Or has it?
whatsoever. Like the style of photography I do, whether it be landscapes, travel, street photos, all those have got nothing to do with culture. Like they literally never intertwine, never collide. So like no, I've never had any issue.
I know Ayob has talked about it a little bit, but do you feel like culture has gotten in the way of what you do at all?
Yeah, not at all, bro. Like culture itself, like it has never been like a burden or whatsoever. Unlike the environment here, bro. That's another different thing. That's the thing I talked about. But as culture, bro, actually, like as I said earlier, I'm trying to dig into my own roots and culture and trying to find the exact history of my own roots. So yeah, and basically on the internet, as Sadik said, you won't find anything like about any specific Libyan culture actually. You know, and lately, like I came across this vintage Libya on Instagram. Yeah, there's this Instagram account called Vintage Libya, and where it shows like nice like vintage pictures of Libya. So yeah, that kind of inspired me in a certain way, like to dig deeper into my own roots and try to make art out of that, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I'm really appreciative for such content like that. So yeah, bro.
Yeah. Definitely. I definitely agree. Like Vintage Libya, there's also a couple other photographers that I follow. They do show Libyan culture in a way that you're more appreciative of Libyan work and Libyan culture, you know. And I feel like even if you are حتى لو عايش في Libya, you know, we still need reminders of who we are and how beautiful our culture
Exactly,
is.
bro.
Like Sadik said.
Exactly, bro. Like I'm really like super like appreciative like when it comes to this kind of things, especially when it be like in an image in an image form, you know. So yeah, if you guys know any other like accounts like that or whatsoever, it would be really helpful.
I know North Africa posts North Africa on Instagram. They post North African culture and North African art of all kinds, like whether it be Algerian, Moroccan, Tunisian, Libyan. They show all of that. But maybe Allaa or even Sadik or Malik, do you guys know any other Libyan, like specifically Libyan culture
I
pages?
follow a couple, but off the top of my head, other than Vintage Libya, I can't really name
Yeah,
them.
I don't. I know at least one person I featured on the Libyan Creative. They're not a Libyan culture page, but a lot of her photography has to do with like being in Libya. And the best thing about her work to me is that she does she doesn't just go into Trablus or Benghazi. Like she'll go to, into the desert and these smaller communities that people don't really know of. Her name is Neda Harib, I think, and hopefully I'm not butchering her name, but her work is beautiful. And I think it's really inspirational because, you just find the beauty of the simple things of Libya. And I think all of us relate, just like,
Sorry to
yeah.
cut in, but I'm almost certain either it's her brother or sibling, someone with the exact same last name. I think it's Sessi, and then the same last name. He's a photographer as well, and he does
Yeah.
a damn good
MashaAllah.
job.
I don't know
Yeah.
Sassi, but Nada, wow, like amazing.
Zahar, if you remember, I sent you a couple of accounts before you started like recording all the podcasts.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
one of them.
Yeah. Because like I feel like we all need a reminder of who we are, and that's kind of what I want to do with this. It's more so like building towards something in the future, as well as a reminder for first and foremost myself and all of us. Like we have such amazing people, like all of you guys, and like we kind of need to remember that all the time. Like as far away as we are from Libya, and like a lot of us can't go back due to a lot of reasons. So it's kind of hard for us to, like we've said before, kind of hard for us to appreciate who we are and our identity from where we are at the moment. Do you think as parents, do you think like if you are in the future, inshallah, if you will be parents, do you think you'll be supportive of your kids' endeavors in creativity?
Yes. Yeah, as long as it's not crude or anything. But who am I to judge what's crude and what's not? I'd love to support my kids in their creative directions. I have a lot of support from my parents, maybe not so much in art. I think it's a really new, like janib jadid, like they've never seen this type of stuff before. So I want my kids to have all the resources and support if they ever choose to go into art.
Yeah, without a doubt, would help them, motivate them to be creative in one way or another, and definitely push them in that road as well.
I struggle with this question a lot actually, and I ask myself the same question all the time, because I think it is dependent, kind of like Allaa was alluding to, on what it is they're pursuing. So I always think of it, would I let my son or daughter go do music, and more specifically like hip hop? And why I struggle with it is because me going through it right now, I see, of course, all of the good things that come from it, but I also see a lot of the bad, within the industry, that if you don't have like a level head or like kind of the right preparation going into it, can actually lead to like, a lot of like negative things. And alhamdulillah, like for me, I had to fall down a lot of times and realize who are the people who I should be interacting with and shouldn't be, and have like that learning experience that at the end of the day, like sure, I'm thankful for it because here I am now, but also if I had a kid, would I love to prevent them from ever having to experience like a lot of those lows that come with it? Like probably also sure. So when it comes to like as a musician specifically, because I think it's a little bit different, especially within not only our culture but our religion and where that stands, it can be a tricky one for me.
Yeah, for me actually, like if I ever had a kid, I would be more of a teacher rather than a parent, you know. Like I would provide like every downfall like I ever experienced, and try like to give an advice.
علمهم
Yeah,
تربية
exactly, bro.
معينة.
Like to be more, to give more of an advice, so they won't like fall into the same mistakes I did like during my process of learning, of digging deep into the world of art. Yeah. Also, I hope like one of my kids would be an artist or a painter. That
Exactly. Like the way I see it, I would love for my son or daughter to be a photographer one day, inshallah. Like through my experience this past couple of years, like everything I've learned, they won't really have to learn by themselves. I'd be able to help them out from the get-go. This way it would make their life way easier as well.
exactly, bro.
But here's the thing though. انتم توا like الحاجات اللي تعلموها كل شويه الحاجات تتغير. You know, like technology hasn't been the same. Like for example, Sadik, like look at Photoshop and Illustrator and Lightroom and all those things. شوف كيف تغيروا in the past couple of years.
Yep.
You know, فكيف بتعلمهم لما العالم كل شويه قاعد يتقدم? Do you think you're just gonna teach them the lessons, or is it more so the techniques?
I'm continuously learning. Every single day I'm still learning. Like no one can tell you, oh, I know everything and everything, you know? Like there's no way that you know everything about a certain thing. Ayob can tell you that, Malik will tell you that, Allaa will tell you that. Like you're continuously learning no matter what. So like I don't think I'm gonna stop next year learning and be okay, that's it, I know everything I need to know for the rest of my life. Like no, I keep trying to
think
evolve
on
and
that
improve
note,
my work.
I would
day
say
by day.
like on that note though,
like,
Sadiq, like there's
I feel-
certain things that you'll continue to learn, right? That are, let's just say when it comes to photography itself, you know, whether it's the newest lens that's out or the newest software to use for, you know, post work or whatever the case might be. Like I think all that stuff is great, but there's also going to be things, and I've seen it firsthand right now, like generational gaps that are going to happen too, right? So like right now, TikTok's in. By the time, inshallah, all of us have kids, like it might be like that newest thing that, although it might make sense to us now, like we're probably not going to be keeping up with like certain things that are important to, if you're trying to get your business off of the ground, like just social media. If you try to talk to a photographer, you know, who is at their peak, or not even at their peak, but somebody who's been a photographer for the last like 30 years, and you talk to them and they were, you know, doing this 10 or 20 years ago, and they've still kept up to date with like techniques and, you know, the things about photography and as a craft as a whole. Yes, that's really important. But some of the things, like whether we want to or not, we're just not going to be on the same page. Like even for me, I notice it. I came up on like Facebook, you know, Twitter was obviously huge and it still is right now, but like TikTok for me was like a brand new thing, and I can see like the age gap and the generational divide there. It's like I can't unless if I really spent like a ton of time, like I'm not going to be able to give that great of advice on like how do you get big on TikTok, or 10 to 20 years from now, like what's going to be like that new thing.
And you can't give advice on how to do TikTok dances either.
No, I mean I can, but I'll do that with you separately off this call.
Well, to contrast that though, I think rather even away from learning and teaching the new things, they're like basics too. Like I think Sadik, what you know now, and Malik and Ayob, what you guys have learned now is basics, is really valuable information and a great perspective for, you know, the future children.
Without a doubt, like for example, no one in my family did photography, so for me it was a brand new thing. So I learned everything like from scratch. Like for example, if my father was into photography, he'd be like, "Oh, don't shoot JPEG. You need to start shooting RAW. You're able to like keep more data within the photos, etc." That would have been like very useful information to know from the beginning. But because I didn't know that, I had to learn it all by myself. So I had to make mistakes to be able to learn. So I feel like those are the type of things that I'd be able to like help my child in the future do. And like regards to, for example, TikTok in the new stage, like who would have said that, for example, Gordon Ramsay would be making TikToks?
Nobody.
Like it's something that no one expects, but you have to evolve with this day and like an age. Like you have to.
Because I also feel like you also have
that.
to appeal to a certain audience. Like, for example, Gordon Ramsay's audience is like people that are a lot older than us. They were at the same age as us at one point, but they've also grown older. So you kind of have to appeal to people that are going to continue to grow and love you. You know what I mean? Like تيجي تقعد عليه واحد عمره 45 سنة عشان حتى هو بيكبر حتى هو like, you know, worst may happen, you know. And it's also like consumerism and capitalism in a sense, you know. Like I don't know if you get what I mean. Like here's like, for example, business owners, you kind of have to like keep growing your business to appeal to more people because you want to have return customers. That's why so many businesses have moved towards social media, for example. Like look at all the funny comments Wendy's does under their posts, or like other businesses. It's because they kind of have to appeal to a whole new market. That's why you go into different things. It's not because you want to advance. Well, sometimes you want to advance in a certain way, but it's also because you want more money or just more exposure in a certain form.
Exactly, bro. It's like a stock market data, you know, like where you be ready for the stock price feeds and all of that. So that's how I see the things right now, like with TikTok and many other platforms. Yeah, so that's how I actually see it. Like it's like a stock market. So like you gotta like be like more of a follower of that thing, like, and you're trying to make stuff that when it comes to that to that thing, you know, like you gotta evolve with each like new technology, basically.
Pretty much.
Find a way to evolve at least.
What do you think in your perspectives? I know we've talked about this a little bit, but do you feel like there's a lack of unity amongst Libyan creatives? And if so, do you think that'll be fixed, or how do you think we can fix that?
Yeah, I think we like unity amongst Libyan creators, bro. Especially out here in Libya, like everyone like acting like a survivalist, basically. That's easily can be fixed, you know. I think like, you know, most of the reason like why everyone like decided like to take being creative as a career is in the number one goal is like money. So yeah, that's what like most unfortunately like many creatives out here in Libya, like they only care about money and the outcome. Like if I ask like the next creative person like we should collaborate on stuff, like the first thing they would ask me like if there would be any like, you know, yeah.
Don't you think it's because of like the الزمن والوقت اللي هم عايشين فيه والحاجات اللي هم like عاشوها, you know, like whether it be pre 2011 or post 2011, like في هالظروف صايرة فمشوا للتفكير هو من اللي عاشوه, you know.
I'm actually, I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. I think about that as well, but it's kind of holding me back, like from becoming a better artist that I was yesterday. So when I like used to care about money rather than my work, like I know like my results are actually like not different from any other artworks like I used to make. Like recently, I had to do like many of artworks that I've done in the past because it actually wasn't like about loving the art, you know. It was about like caring about the income of that. So yeah, bro, like recently, like I've been like trying to make projects like mostly for fun, like to like give, let's say like to make our art as reflective as possible, if you know what I mean, and not to care about the financial income.
Like the way most people see it is like there's plenty of work for everyone. So like whenever I see on the photographer, I just see him as another photographer. Some people may see me as competition or something along those lines, but at the end of the day, for me, I'm like, there's so much work that I can work, I can make a living. You can work, you can make a living comfortably as well.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
like I haven't noticed any lack of unity among Libyan creators, but like creators in general, it's split, I think, evenly. Some that don't mind, like I've reached out to Libyan creatives, whether they're based in the UK or in America or everything. I'm like, yo, if you're ever in Canada, shoot me a text. And I'm like, we'll shoot together, and like no issue whatsoever. And then some people's like, they see you as competition basically, because like, oh, this guy might take my work or he'll steal my clients type of thing. So
Allaa,
I think it just depends.
do you feel like Allaa, there's a lack of unity by any chance, or is there like what Ayob and Sadik are alluding to?
Yeah, I don't think there's a lack of unity because they're Libyan or because of competition or anything like that. I haven't seen that personally. I think the only thing that there might be is just a lack of connection between everyone. And that's why I started Libyan Creative. Because when I started with animation, I didn't know any Libyan creatives. I didn't know any Libyan artists. But once I knew them, like I have so many Libyan artist friends. So I think it's just about making those connections.
Malik, do you feel there's a lack, or is it just a mix of everything?
No, I feel like there's unity. I feel like there's more unity now than there was before. I don't feel like that there necessarily was early on. I think also on the competition point, I definitely have seen that, and not because I think it's a Libyan problem, but because I think it's like an industry like hip hop. Like hip hop is all about diss tracks and bragging rights and I'm better than this person or that person and clout and stuff. It's like I've seen it firsthand, in that with Libyans, but I don't think it's because of a Libyan thing. I think it's more deeply rooted in like an underlying hip hop thing. But I think the other thing is like I forget who said it. The idea of like stealing, I think it was Sadik was talking, stealing, your fans and or your whatever. Like, but I'm actually the opposite. So if somebody comes up to me, and whether they're Libyan or not, but more specifically if they are Libyan and they're like just trying to start a page or all this stuff, the first thing I tell them is go through my followers. Like if you want, feel free to just like follow whoever you think, like check their things, if they're Libyan, whatever. Like because I've been able to build like that type of network and all of that. So that could be like a good starting point for you. And I forget who it was, but somebody gave me the advice one time, and it was a hip hop artist, and they said something to the effect of like, we can all eat, meaning like it's not like dog eat dog. Like there's plenty of room for everybody to succeed here. And I took a lot of that to heart. And so like when,
Sure.
Now when people reach out to me for whatever creative it is, and especially if they're Libyan, like I said, the first place I point them to is like, hey, look through my network. And, especially if you want an intro or whatever it is, just like, kind of let me know. And I think that those are the type of things where it starts to help is once the creatives are all open-minded to it, which it seems like a lot of people are, and they all want to support each other and want to see each other succeed and understand that like, if you succeed, that means that I succeed, then, that's kind of how it, I think, improves.
That's also the reason why I had all of you here, or as my first 4 guests.
Yeah.
Because I know Allaa, you've done it, Ayob, you've done it, Sadik has done it, Malik has done it. Like all of you, even when I pitched the idea of the podcast to all of you were like, hey, you know what? I know this person, I know that person, I know this. I have this platform, I know that guy, I know this guy, I know this person. Like, you know what? Let me know anybody at all, anything you need, and I will do my utmost best to, give you a platform and help you out in any way, shape, or form. Like that's the one thing that I said in the first episode. I was like, in the beginning of my like creative identity or creative crisis, when I was going through that, I found Sadiq, and then I found Malik, and then I found Allaa and Ayob. And then Ayob always goes, you know what? Like, I never had anybody to, Ayob always says this to me. He's like, yo, I never had anybody to give me a platform. So, and I never had the opportunities growing up. So anybody that needs an opportunity, I will give them, my utmost best. Like, أي واحد لي بمساعدة في أي شكل. And Ayob and Allaa, you both done it. Malik has done it. Sadik has done it. Like anybody that needs help or anybody that's looking for help, here, you know what? I know how to do this. Here, yo, let me show you how to do that. Sadik and my friend Wasim both were like, when they were the ones that made the logo for me. You know, Wasim did the first pretty much everything else, and then Sadik did the little edits here and there, and it became as great as it is. Ayob and Malik and Allaa, you were like, yo, if you guys are like, and Sadik too, like if you want somebody to share the podcast for you, yo, let me know. I got you. Malik lately, like any guest that comes to mind, he'll message me like, yo, this guy's gonna would have great opinions on this. This guy you should talk to on that. Like that's the thing that I love most about like you guys is you guys are supportive no matter who the person is, as long as they're going towards something great, or not something great, but like as long as you see them doing something positive or a change, no matter who it is, you'll be very, very supportive of it. And I think that's something that we all need people like you. You know what I mean? Like we all need somebody backing us no matter what. And I think that's why I went through and did the podcast. It's because I knew no matter what I did or how I went about it, because I have like alhamdulillah, because I have such positive reinforcement, it'll succeed no matter what, you know? Regardless of what you think the opinion of success is, like you'll know it'll succeed. What do you think is a good way for us to bring Libyan creatives together?
Yeah.
Podcasts like these.
Exactly.
Exactly like this one, or the Libyan Creative by Allaa, or any of these platforms that you guys are giving us creatives to be on. Like I understand that as a creative in of itself, but like the Libyan Creative, like the account itself is helping promote Libyan. I was gladly the first guy or first person to be posted on that account. So like I was the first there.
Hell yeah. I mentioned that too in the podcast. So this is the first podcast episode and the first Living
So
Creative
I guess
Future.
people like to start with me.
It's also because like the reason why I had the original idea for the first season, quote unquote, was I'm going to do photographers first because I know I could start with Sadik and I know he'd be more than happy to speak. And then I like trashed that idea and I was like, you know what? Let me start with the people that gave me led me to this path of creativity and finding myself. And like the people that I know will speak the most about it. And I know I'm very, very, very familiar with their work and I could talk about it all day and night. Like every chance I get, I've mentioned Sadig's work. Every single chance I get, I've mentioned Ayob. Every single chance I get, I mentioned Libyan creatives. I've mentioned Malik. Because like I know you guys and I know what you guys are trying to do and I know the path that you're on. You know, it's not hard for me to appreciate what you do in your work when what you're doing is so great. Like I've never seen you guys do anything negative or problematic in any way, shape, or form. It's always Malik, for example, I've never seen him say to me like, oh, this is me and I'm Malik and I'm so great and I'm this and I'm that. It's always, what can I do for you? And Sadik is the same way and Ayub's the same way. Any Libyan creative, anything shape, form, or possible, you always try to integrate it into your work or into your daily lives or into like what you're talking about, you know? If it hasn't been hard for me to talk about how great you are. And that's why I went with you as my first guest, because it's not hard for me to do, you know?
I have a question for you. I want to interview you for a second since you've been interviewing us a ton here, because I know that the focus point of the podcast and also what we've talked about here is Libyan creatives, and like when I think of the word creatives, at least it means literally creativity, which then I associate with like artistry or something of that nature. My question to you, like, do you think of it and do you limit it to that? Do you think you're going to continue to limit it to that scope, or are you more interested in the idea of just like overall Libyan excellence? And what I mean by that, and what would maybe a little bit different, is like you know, an athlete, for example, somebody who's like completely crushing it, I wouldn't think, like one of my friends, inshallah, he ran in the 2016, is that the recent one? Yeah, 2016 Olympics, for Libya. And so, but like, I don't think of him as like a creative, but I think of him as somebody who exhibits like excellence and is like Libyan excellence. So like when you think about it, are you thinking that it's going to be people like that as well, whether it's that? I had a friend recently who's Libyan. He told me he's trying to run for Congress.
No
You know,
way.
just like, you know what I mean? Like, so is it that, or is it limited to just like the creative space and the artist space, whether that's, you know, music or graphic design or photography, or شنو اسمه, there's obviously a million and one things. So I guess like when you think about it, what's kind of in that, what's in there?
Allaa talks about this a little bit, like in her episode, like creativity is like to her is unlimited, but the way I see it, at least, is I want to focus on Libyan creatives, as in like artwork, more or less, like whether it be fashion, photography, music, that sort of stuff, because I feel like we've talked about this on other episodes with all of you, is that I feel like there's a stigma around people like you know, like I haven't. This is my sort of creative, but like I want to do spoken word, I want to do poetry, I want to do have all those types of creativity, like literature, stuff like that. Because I feel like if you tell your parents you're going into something like that full time, like you've talked about it, Malik, on your episode, it's kind of tough for some parents to be supportive. Like if like with the podcast, my parents are like, they were supportive of it, but creativity to them means totally different than what it means to me. So my goal is to speak to creative individuals in the beginning, and if this goes the way it's been going for the past couple of days so far, alhamdulillah, I'm going to start something else towards people like that, Libyan success stories and Libyan businesses. Because I know personally a lot. Like Ayub's worked with him before, like my friend that runs PI Vintage. He has a business and he's been doing, and it's been very, very successful. Like there's also Malik, the Libyan cook that you have had before, the one that makes food and then she sends it out. She's also a success story that I hope to have, but not on this podcast. She's amazing in what she does, and I appreciate it, and I support it. But to me, it is creative, but it's not creative. You know what I mean? Like it's not an aspect of Libyan creatives. It's more so a creative business owner, a creative idea. You know, like everyone is creative, but not everybody is a creative. You know, that's at least
I'm
my
with you.
take on it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. That makes sense. I think it's less about any of us trying to say this is what the definition of a creative is, and more saying for you, in the sake of this, what is your definition of it? And it sounds like you have a pretty good handle on that.
Because
so it's good.
I also want to like, you guys probably, Allaa, you probably know them, the Libyans who are our age that started the recycling company in Libya. They're amazing, and I want to have them on another podcast.
Right.
There's so many Libyan amazing business owners that I want to have. Like I know them myself personally, like the Libyan restaurant in Edmonton. It's the only Libyan restaurant in Canada. There was two, and then one closed down. There was one in Toronto, but it closed down because lack of business, and there was a lot of like issues with it. And there's not, you can't really, what happened with the restaurant, like it didn't succeed, and there's only one in Canada. There's another one I know somewhere, I believe in the UK. Like I want to have those types of people on it, you know. But this platform for me means only the Libyan creatives, because like I said, there's a lot of stigma around Libyan art and Libyan creativity. Ayuba said it on his episode, like his friends don't really understand art, you know, like it's not like something that everybody is very welcoming of, and not everybody understands it. Of course, because of the way we're brought up, like we've said on our episode, Malik, you know, it's very difficult for us to be fully understanding, like as Libya, like from my parents' point of view, it's very difficult because of the world that they lived in. You know, like my mom said it to me like when her and my dad first moved to Canada, like with me in '99, it was very hard for them to like money wasn't great, you know. Like my dad was a student, and it was hard for them to bring me up and they gave me everything that I needed, and I never felt like when I was growing up that I had difficulties, but it's still hard, you know. Like how do you let your child go through that, you know? So that's why I understand why they're not supportive, but I also feel like it's kind of, you know, like it's your parents' job to support you no matter what. So that's why I want to go through the living creatives like one by one and interview them and their process and their point of view and like what's their thoughts on culture and identity and what they went through. Like I have a friend of mine who I'm inshallah hoping to have, who's a videographer, and like we were friends, like I've been friends with him like for a while, but when he got into photography and videography, it was random. It was literally the most random thing in the entire world. He went and graduated with engineering with honors and had very, very high marks. And then out of nowhere, now he does videography full time. How did you bring that up to your parents? Like, how did you go, you know what? Like, I'm done with engineering. That Muslim tourist, for example, he graduated with engineering too, and then now he does content creation. You know, for those people are like, to me, success stories. And like, how did you go from, you know what, I'm gonna stop everything and I'm gonna pursue this? You know, like to me, it's very hard for us to bring up that idea to our parents, and that's why I want to have all of you, like all by you, I mean creatives, talk about that, because I know we all struggle with it, and all of our parents are different in their ways, you know.
Exactly, bro. It's all about sacrifice, though, and you know, preventing yourself from becoming a disappointment to your parents in any shape or form. So I kind of made them like feel disappointed when I told them like I stopped working as a software developer. I used to be a software developer in an IT company. So it kind of like broke them, like when I told them about what I have been doing for the past 2 years or so. So yeah, I made huge sacrifices actually.
You see what I mean? Like الناس هما لازم نتكلم عليهم، لازم نوروهم ان في support وراهم. Like Malik, you've seen it, and I know Allaa, you've seen it, and I know Sadik, you've all seen it, where you feel like there's no support towards what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like I don't want any Libyan creative to ever go through that. That's why Allaa, you've also started the Libyan creative page, because you want to show these amazing people that they have support. Hence why the podcast, you know. What this leads towards is one by one, what do you hope to gain? I know maybe like maybe you did it out of the kindness of your own hearts, but what do you hope to gain from being on this podcast?
So I guess I'll combine the question that you also previously asked with this one. I think that this is a great initiative to create a platform for Libyan creatives that already exist, to give them a voice, and that's how we unify our community. And like Malik said earlier, we all eat. You know, you should change your logo to Kulna Tu7af. But I think, you know, that's why I'm here, because I want to, like bring attention to this podcast. I want to contribute to this great initiative, and I hope other creatives can benefit from this too, inshallah.
Yeah, bro. For me, I actually I don't hope like to gain anything from this, bro. Like I really my only wish right now, like for you to become as influential as possible, you know what I mean? And you will actually. And you actually will affect it. Yeah. And I hope like this will maybe like attract like as many possible as of Libyan listeners and learn something or two from this, because I actually never I met like few people like who supported me like during my craft, but I have never like gotten like that much of love and support as much as I did from, let's say, you. Like you repost everything like that I make basically, and like you always like trying to lift me up, even like during my worst like situation, or like one of my worst artworks, let's say. So yeah, I find that like I appreciate that, if you know what I mean. I'm super grateful for actually like to have like some even one supporter, if you know what I mean, one real supporter that appreciate what I do.
Like I told you before, like it's honestly literally nothing for me to like, share, comment. It literally takes not even 5 minutes to do all of that. Like I have my post notifications on for all of you and other creatives as well. Cause like I said, I don't feel like anybody, that's why I wanted, like the other thing is from your art, I don't feel like anybody can tell who you are, what your thoughts are, you know? Like Malik is a different story because Malik raps, but even then, he still doesn't talk about Malik, you know? He never talks about his point of view on a daily basis or like some of the questions that I've asked him, you know? Like no one sees that from Malik unless he talks about it. So the same thing. It's photography. You with artwork. Allaa, it's with your animations. You know, like no one sees your thoughts. So that's why I wanted you to speak on it.
Yeah. So exactly, bro. It's basically like about like having people like from like, let's say, around the world that would be familiar with your work. Like is another feeling, you know. Like it's like you be on the top of the world, but like when you have like like let's say 3 or 4 true supporters, it's different. Like these 4 supporters, like these the people like who really appreciate what you do. Like they don't like come to you when you be, you know, at your peak, let's say. Like those will come with success, if you know what I mean, and you know they leave with that as well. Like
Yeah.
it's like for me as an artist, like every victory of mine is like momentary, if you know what I mean, momentary bliss. So and it's difficult when you get used to that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, definitely. Because I also, like Malik said, like if I eat, we all eat, you know? Whenever you guys succeed or whenever you guys get reposted or whenever you guys get the recognition that you so deserve, I genuinely, like I get so excited for you guys. Like, wallahi, I've never been this happy about anything like as much as when you guys get the recognition that you deserve. You know what I mean? But that's also the other thing. Like, so what do you hope to gain from this?
Hopefully a paycheck. No, jokes aside though, like you've supported me since day one. Like literally since the day I met you and like you found out about my photography account. Like you've been supportive since day one. You've given me your thoughts about everything I do. You've joined me in shoots when it's minus 15 degrees outside. So the least I could do is being on this podcast and supporting you and being your first guest.
Malik, what about you? What do you hope to gain?
Yeah, I think pretty much everything that he just said, with the exception of the paycheck. Although I'll tell you, the lawyers could talk after this. No. Yeah.
Run me the PayPal.
Get your subscribers to donate to your Patreon or whatever.
I'll start.
We need a cut.
Exactly.
I'll start a Twitch stream.
No,
I'll start Twitch and we'll get the money going.
Yeah. No, but I think exactly what we heard from both Sadik and Ayob, which was like, I've never even met you in real life, and I feel like I know you. You know what I mean? Like I feel like exactly as they described, it was kind of since the day one. I was like, I don't even know who this dude is who's hyping me up, but like this dude's gassing me up and giving me like confidence that I've never even had, and that's cool. I think for a while you had in your bio like that you were my hype man and stuff, which like I thought was very lit. So like those type of things, like, you know, it's gonna make it, inshallah, it's gonna make, I think, this path easy for you when you reach out to people, because you're pretty much like you in particular, compared to a lot of other people, are like everybody's biggest cheerleader. And so I think like a lot of, when you ask people, they're probably all just going to be, you know, down the hop on this. But more specifically, as far as like what I was looking to gain, I think like obviously the conversations with everybody, in particular, just like this group, it's good to, you know, get to meet everybody, and inshallah we'll continue to, you know, be in touch and collab. But I think like furthermore, this is, if you think about it, like this is the definition of what you're looking to do in like real life action. So outside of this podcast, what you're hoping that something like this does is encourage other creatives to go and like make a Zoom call like this, or make a group chat or whatever. And so like what I was hoping to be, get out of this is like be a part of that proof of concept of, oh, look, this is what it can look like. So inshallah, when other people hear this, maybe it'll encourage them to go make that quick chat with like 3 or 4 other people, or start kind of like building out, or join Allah's Discord, or whatever it is. So I feel very humbled and all that to be a part of this and to have even been thought of. But honestly, I think all of us would agree that we're very just excited about your future success on this, inshallah, in the same way that you've taken an interest in ours. And that's kind of what it's all about.
For sure. It's time to give back all the energy and love that you've been giving us in the past.
Same here, bro. Like you helped to shape the artist I am today, bro. Like that's the least like I can say.
You don't understand how that means to me. The man who worked with the weekend himself.
Zahra is blushing right now.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm crying like Liverpool fans.
I got
That's a burn.
I'm about to leave the call.
I got an NFL game on in the background, and there was a commercial that came on with the weekend. I was like, man, I'm like 1 degree of separation from him.
Pretty much. I know somebody that knows somebody,
Exactly. Yeah.
But
very humbled for like to meet you all of you guys for real. Yeah.
But
yeah.
that's
how we work on like more projects like together. Like
that's the other thing that I wanted to do with the forum or the panel or whatever you want to call it, is I know you guys know each other, but the other thing that I want to do is also like you guys all know each other, but in the future when I have people that don't know each other, inshallah, I want them to get to know each other and understand each other. Like I want more people to work with other people, or just more understanding between our community and our creatives. Because like I said, the end goal, inshallah, like me and Ayob and me and Allaa have talked about this a lot, and even me and Sadik, it's like I want to go back to Libya and start the creative agency somewhat like House Ayob. So like نبي نرجع ليبيا ندير حاجة أكبر من just ظهر الدين. نبي ندير حاجة للشعب الليبي ثقافتنا, like I want,
exactly, bro.
Because you said it on yours, like how hard was it for you to get a Wacom, like I don't want people in Libya to have that same issue. فإنشاء الله كنا سخر ربي will go towards that,
we will, bro. Like, I actually have this like small projects like in progress right now, where I gathered like a bunch of my other creative friends, and we made like this small group of creatives, or let's say art agency. We call it Outbox, So like we have like different type of creative, like we have photographers and Munder. I told you about Munder.
Munder is amazing.
Yeah. I have him alongside me on this one as well. So we create work like for, let's say, companies out here in Libya locally, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, like so you did with was it Libyana? It was Libyana, right?
Yeah, right now, yeah. So that's like what we're trying to expand this small circle into a bigger one, but in the near future, inshallah. So yeah, bro.
Inshallah, can Rabbi sakharna. We'll do something like
So maybe you will be a part of this as well, bro. Like when you come here, maybe like I'm trying to like to move my business like outside of Libya right now, unfortunately. But yeah, we will try to come back when we are stronger than this, better,
That's the goal, Like I don't want it to be strictly for Libyans. I want it's a Libyan initiative, like للعالم الكامل, like it's based in wherever based, whether it be Trablus or whether it be Misrat or Baghazi or Sirte or wherever. But it's more for, like you said, like outside of Libya, عشان معناش something like that.
Exactly, like I'm trying like to see like how the art world, let's say, works like outside of here, because I know like the art like community outside from here like is like, let's say, pretty different from what I'm seeing here. Like it will makes me like more, let's say, build on the skill like I have right now, I have at the moment. So yeah, bro, it will be a good experience, I think. And like good experience and knowledge at the same time to, you know, to report to my people out here when I get the chance, inshallah.
Inshallah. I thank you all for being here today. I really appreciate every single minute of the time that you have given me. So jazakumullah khair, and again, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Inshallah. Thank you, bro.
Thanks, G.
Thank you.
My name is Zahruddin Treki, and this has been the final episode of season 1 of Kulna Tu7af. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.